and America is a free country that's supposed to be capitalist. It's supposed to be hands-off, laissez-faire economics. The idea that the President of the United States has to pass a law to have a free economy kicks that notion of freedom in the teeth completely. Now, Ron Paul actually is against NAFTA, and it's for this reason. And I gotta agree. You should not need a law allowing free trade if you live in the United States of America. All you have to do is remove the tariffs. So he passed this trade agreement to make him look like a foreign powerhouse, but the idea, I think, was to also remove the tariffs on the other side. So Ron Paul was against it insofar as, you shouldn't need a law to be free. And I have to concur on that front. Freedoms are inherent. They're not something you receive from government. So I get it on that front. Now, that being said, Canada and Mexico weren't going to drop their tariffs just because we did. So we would have been paying extra taxes, and those costs would have come to the consumers here in America. So it makes sense in that he got other countries to engage in more free capitalism. So in free trade. So I'm gonna diverge from Ron Paul here. I think that Clinton did the right thing in this situation. I just wanted to point that out because I didn't want it to be a point of contention here. Now, Clinton got access. Just another point on my list here. Clinton got access to FBI files of background reports on employees of former Republican administration employees without their permission. His White House, not necessarily him, but his White House, his staff, requested these files illegally and received them illegally without the permission of the people the files were about. Completely illegal. It's the same thing you see with the Obama administration getting tax returns from Republican or conservative donors. It's exactly the same thing. And the Department of Justice investigated it, and they never prosecuted Clinton because Clinton could not be traced to it. Clinton could not be linked to this issue because he's not an idiot. Well, not that big of an idiot anyway. But I think that the fact of the matter remains that when you're getting background checks illegally on people, you clearly are not for freedom. Now, this is going to cause a point of contention with some of my conservative listeners, but I'm going to say it anyway. As many of you know, I believe that government should not be involved in whatever you do in your bedroom. If you want to be gay, be gay. If you want to be weird, be weird. I don't care, and it's not my business. It's not anybody's business. I don't care what you do in the privacy of your home. I don't care. And that applies to gays getting married. Gay marriage, to me, has nothing to do with religion because a government contract doesn't have anything to do with God. In my opinion, being married as far as the government's concerned doesn't have anything to do with the church. And I think people ought to remember that. I don't see a problem with gay marriage as a Christian from a legal standpoint because the laws of God are above the laws of man. So if on religious grounds you oppose gay marriage, you should remember that the government has nothing to do with church. And allowing gay people to get married does not affect your church. You don't have to recognize them as married in the eyes of God in your church. That's religious freedom, and they can't stop that from happening. Not legally, not ever. The only problem I have with outright gay marriage would be that people wouldn't be free to refuse them service if they chose to, because we live in a country where Democrats don't allow you to refuse people service. I think it's stupid to refuse somebody service because you're denying free money. Not free money, but you're denying, commerce that you would otherwise have. But if on principle you don't approve of it and you want to deny them service, I think that should be your right. I mean, it's your business. You shouldn't have to serve anybody you don't want to, period. That's not a model of freedom, forcing people to give service to others. You own your business. So, all that being said, the point is that President Clinton, in a bid to seem, more centrist, he signed the Defense of Marriage Act in 1996, which basically declared that gays couldn't get married. Because before the Defense of Marriage Act, the government did not have really a true definition of marriage in law that prevented gay people from getting married. So Clinton kind of started that whole thing. In my mind, he did. I don't understand why people think that gays need a law to allow them to get married without the Defense of Marriage Act. I kind of feel like the Constitution accounts for this with the 10th Amendment. Rights that are not reserved to the federal government are left to the states and the people. Well, the right to get married, the right to contractually give someone half of your crap, is a right. I mean, it's not religious if it comes from government. A marriage license from the government doesn't have anything to do with God. It's literally just the idea that somebody owns half your stuff and allows you to file taxes together. Woohoo. Should not be something that we hold from anybody. I mean, who cares? I don't care if you want to marry a goat. I don't care if you marry your dog or, if a lady wants to marry her 5 cats. I don't care. And none of us should either. If people want to be stupid, let them be stupid. People are going to be stupid anyway. You might as well let them be stupid. Now, I know a lot of people get mad when you throw the bestiality and polygamy and stuff out there. Look, I just don't care. The fact that we are having discussions about people's differences based on their bedroom activities is ridiculous. I don't care what other people do in their bedrooms. I don't care. Gay, straight, sideways, leftways, upside down, and purple. I don't care at all. It doesn't matter. So I contend that being against gay marriage from a government standpoint should draw criticism for him receiving this Medal of Honor, or Medal of Freedom. Moving right along, the Department of Justice uncovered evidence of the Chinese donating to the Democratic National Committee. Democrats claim the evidence only pointed to donating to Democrat congressional campaigns, but Republicans contend that there was evidence that the Chinese were donating to the Clinton campaigns. Now, this is not the first time I've heard this either. I have heard from many times that the Clintons were receiving Chinese donations, and it's something you can find news reports about online to this day. They're all over the place, that the Clintons were way too involved with the Chinese. And honestly, that was one of the points they tried to sell themselves in elections. A lot of the reason that a lot of the things that Hillary talked about for her foreign policy experience was how well she did with the Chinese, because getting along with commies is something to be proud of. But there it is. And as you may not know it, but foreign countries donating to American political campaigns is illegal, because founding fathers and lawmakers obviously were not okay with foreign powers influencing American elections. Now, then of course you've got the Monica Lewinsky fiasco, where he was impeached by the House and found guilty of perjury, but was not removed from office by the Senate. Democrats controlled the Senate, obviously, and they voted on a partisan basis. But the fact of the matter is, he did lie to the American people, and that is tantamount to being anti-freedom. Anytime you lie to the American people, you are anti-freedom. I think this is a truth that we can all embrace and understand. Now, then you get down to the last day of his term, where he issued 141 pardons and 36 commutations, which are very controversial to this day, which I think still bears answering, especially pardoning Hillary's brother for some of his shenanigans. But as we can see from all of this stuff with the Clintons, we know that they're not the cleanest folks. It's hard to believe that that family is actually looking at a second run. And we also can't forget that the Clintons actually stole art and furniture and silverware and stuff from the White House. They were forced to give them back. They were like, oh, we thought these were gifts. Yeah, so I think I've given you a good 20-minute list worth of nonsense that the Clintons have engaged in. And I think that just one of them is enough to disqualify the Medal of Freedom from these two. But Bill Clinton got that medal today from Obama. So there you have it. Now, a lot of people that, think he deserves it, they'll cite his charity work or, all the work he's done with AIDS and tsunami relief and things like that. Look, I think that Clinton, all this charity work is, A, helping him boost his own cost for his own price, I should say, for his speaking fees and his book sales and things like that. It is a selfish interest for him to keep his image up because it directly affects how much money he makes in his personal life. And I think it also helps keep him politically charged in that he can actually affect the country. So I don't find his charity work to be all that charitable. Not in the slightest. I mean, you can't deny that he's done good, but it doesn't outweigh all of this anti-freedom stuff that he's engaged in over the years. And it doesn't negate the fact that his wife has all of this nonsense, corruption with Goldwater. She was dismissed. And, not Goldwater. I don't know why I keep saying that. With Watergate. And then you've got Benghazi. And then you've got all of these shenanigans that have seemed to be cropping up the last few years. It's really sad. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen her name in the news because she received some award that I've never heard of, or some superlative that means nothing. It didn't exist until they decided Hillary needed another award. And that's kind of what's been going on lately. It's like the Obama administration is finding ways to give her awards and stuff to kind of help her stay in the eye and appear competent and stuff like that. I think it's sad, but it is what it is. Now I want to move on because I'm tired of talking about corrupt politicians for now. I know, hard to believe, right? A man in Tennessee was arrested for trying to pick up his children, including his special needs daughter, on foot. Now, the Tennessee school has a regulation saying that if you want to pick your kid up, you've got to pick them up in the line of cars, and you got to wait in line with everybody else. Now, this would all be good and fine if there was some efficient way to do it, but a lot of these parents are waiting in line an hour. I don't know about you, but if I was waiting an hour to pick up my kid, I'd be pretty peeved. I can tell you I wouldn't have waited an hour.